Okay, so let's dive into what taxes do you actually have to pay as a business owner. Now, there are a few different categories, and there are going to be some special circumstances. So, the taxes that we are going to focus on and talk about today are income tax, self-employment tax, state income tax, sales tax, and then I'm going to lump a few things all into what I call special taxes. So these are going to be the major categories of taxes that we talk about today, and the core categories of taxes that you pay as a business owner in the US. So I'm going to go through and break each of these down so that you understand what they are and what that means. Okay, so let's start with income tax. Income tax is something that everyone has to pay. So whether you have income on a W-2, whether you have rental income, whether you have stock sales or anything like that, everyone is going to pay income tax. So this is when you hear about the tax bracket. What tax bracket are you in? In the US, we have what's called a tiered income tax system. So what that means is you pay taxes in tiers, in different levels. So let me kind of show you guys what those levels look like. Okay, so let's break down these income tax brackets. I'm going to be drawing on my screen here, so I make no claims of my art skill, but hopefully you can interpret this. So how income tax works. Now I'm going to be using the 2019 tax brackets as an example. The tax brackets typically shift every couple years, even every year. So what percentage and all of that may change from year to year. The most drastic change recently was with the new tax law that went into effect in 2018. That rewrote the tax brackets completely. So it's typically been benefiting a lot of people, but let me show how it works. So if you think of like a pyramid, we've got the base layer here. And so I'm going to write in the tax brackets for a single person, so unmarried. So if you're single, this is what your tax bracket would look like. So anything between $0 and $9,700 is going to be taxed at 10%. So the bottom layer of this cake or pyramid is 10%. But I have to tell you guys a little caveat, and that is not all your income is subject to income tax from the start. So there's something that's called a standard deduction. So let's look over here. If you actually earned, say, $32,000 this last year, you're single, you're not married, immediately the IRS is gonna subtract $12,000 from your income as what's called the standard deduction. So they're saying this part of your income is not taxable. So when we go to calculate what tax bracket you're in, we're not using this 32,000, we're using 20,000. Okay? So it's after this deduction. There are other deductions that could come into play, but I don't want to confuse or make things complicated. So we're going to just use that. So layer number one is between $0 and $9,700. You're paying 10% income tax. The next layer up is for your income, which is between $97.01. That's a zero. And $39,475. Okay, it's a big jump. Like a big jump. And you're gonna pay 12%. Okay, so this means that you're paying 10% on the first layer of income, and then the next layer of income you're paying 12% on, and then the next layer of income you're paying 22% on, so it jumps up quite a bit, and that's for all income over 39,476. So that's the top. I'm not doing these anymore, and that's through, let's see, 84,200. Then we keep going up. We've got the 24%, 32%. I'm running out of room. 35. And the top is 37%. Okay, this is just the federal layers. Okay, so in this case of I have $20,000 of taxable income, you're gonna pay $970 of taxes. And then we have to figure out, oh, what's layer number 2 here? So this layer is going to be $1,236. So you add these two together, and that's where you get your total income tax. So this very simple explanation scenario is going to be $2,206 of income tax. Okay, so I know there's a lot of numbers on this screen. A lot of you are like trying not to glaze over, but I wanted you to see the layers. I also want you to understand that people don't realize like how much taxes you pay more the more money you make. So the idea that we need to tax the rich, the richer you are, the more taxes you pay. That's just the reality of income taxes. So when you are looking at this, you definitely are paying more the higher you go. Sorry, I got on the wrong side. So that's how income tax works. It's based after your standard deduction. So this has nothing to do with your business. So even if you had $32,000 on a W-2, you would still get to subtract out this standard deduction. And then that, after that is what you pay your income tax on. So hopefully that's not too confusing. So income tax covers everyone, whether you have W-2, business income, rental income, all the things, hobby income, everyone pays income tax.